What you writing?
Writing a poem about us.
Yeah? Let me hear it.
It's called The Story of Bonnie and Clyde. You've heard the story of Jesse James, of how he lived and died. If you're still in need of something to read, here's the story of Bonnie and Clyde.
You think if I sent that into newspapers that print it, I'm gonna do it.
Now, Bonnie and Clyde are the Barrow gang. I'm sure you all have read how they rob and steal, and those who squeal are usually found dying or dead. They call them cold-hearted killers. They say they are heartless and mean. But I say this with pride, that I once knew Clyde when he was honest and upright and clean. But the law fooled around, kept taking him down and locking him up in a cell, till he said to me, I'll never be free, so I'll meet a few of them in hell. If a policeman is killed in Dallas and they have no clue to guide, if they can't find a fiend, they just wipe their slate clean and hang it on Bonnie and Clyde. If they try to act like citizens and rent them a nice little flat, about the third night they're invited to fight by a subgun's rat-a-tat-tat. Someday they'll go down together, they'll bury them side by side. To few it'll be grief, to the law a relief, but it's death for Bonnie and Clyde.
Hello and welcome to the pod. It's film club time, concluding our double bill with Public Enemies from a couple of days ago. Today, as you heard there, it's Bonnie and Clyde, and there's the poem written by Bonnie. I'll hand you over now to Tim Hewitt and I discussing the film. Tim, welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
Bonnie and Clyde, we've just done Public Enemies. Now, Public Enemies was based on the book Public Enemies, America's Greatest Crime Wave and the Birth of the FBI by Clyde Barrow. And he, in that book, included Bonnie and Clyde in his story. So the two films go very well together, despite the fact that they were made 40 odd years apart.
They were around at the same time, kind of operating at the same time.
Indeed. Around 1933, 1934.
So 90-year anniversary this year of Dillinger's death and Bonnie and Clyde's death.
And Babyface Nelson, Pretty Boy Floyd, they all die. It's all awful. But Bonnie and Clyde, I mean, this is, unlike Public Enemies, this is an iconic film.
Yes.
Whether that's unfair or not, that is the case. When we get to our legacy rating, it's going to be pretty high.
Yeah, very significant film actually in cinema history, because it kind of started, or was amongst those films in the late 60s that started a new wave of the way violence and sex were portrayed. It had a little bit more of an indie feel to it than the studio-led early 60s and sort of 50s, I suppose. And so it was it was a bit of a shock, I think, to the system, this film, because of its juxtaposing slightly comedic feels to sudden shocking violence. It was kind of raw, and it feels, even to this day, feels quite raw. I love it. I do love the film. It has a very interesting history of the making of, in fact.
Well, I'm very interested to hear about that, but I had never seen it until I watched
Sacrilege.
it. And yeah, I'm afraid that is sacrilege, until I'd watched it the other day. And I think it's absolutely brilliant. I don't know why I'd never seen it, but I was very surprised at how good it is.
I'm surprised you hadn't seen it, actually, because firstly, you've seen a lot of films, but also I watched it for the first time when you and I were at school. So I'm wondering where you were.
I think I have, and maybe I still have that kind of prejudice against anything made before I'm born, maybe.
Okay, so quite a lot of films then.
Yeah. I don't know. That doesn't go for Westerns. I love Westerns.
Okay. Well, weirdly, this has a somewhat Western feel. This could be a Western. If it was set in the Old West, the arc, the story makes a lot of sense. It kind of has a,
Yeah, I see that.
like Billy the Kid type
And it's directed
feel.
by Arthur Penn. Now,
Yeah.
Arthur Penn, I'm not familiar with him.
This was his probably most iconic film and very much an influence on other filmmakers, particularly Francis Ford Coppola sort of thanks Arthur Penn for the way Sonny in The Godfather is killed, or at least it was inspired very much by Arthur Penn's work in this. He made a Western called Little Big Man with Dustin Hoffman, which isn't really one of my favorite films. He made The Missouri Breaks, a Western with Marlon Brando and Jack Nicholson. It's actually a very good film.
I have to watch that.
And a Gene Hackman film called Night Moves, which is also very good. These are after Bonnie and Clyde.
But the real two names associated are, of course, Faye Dunaway and Warren Beatty.
Yes, Warren Beatty produced the film because he had heard about the script that was written by David Newman and Robert Benton, who, interestingly, Robert Benton wrote and directed Kramer versus Kramer with Dustin Hoffman, but also, funnily enough, David Newman and Robert Benton both wrote Superman and Superman 2, quite a different flavor. But when the script was being bandied about, Arthur Penn was originally approached, but then he had turned it down loads of times, and then they wanted a French director because they wanted it. They felt that it had a French New Wave type feel, and they originally approached Francois Truffaut, who turned it down, and he recommended Jean-Luc Godard. And Jean-Luc Godard came aboard, but then there was a massive disagreement because Godard wanted to set it in the northeast of the States as opposed to where it actually took place. And then he dropped out, and then Warren Beatty, heard about it and became a producer and tried to get, I think, Godard again, and then went to Penn, and then Shirley MacLaine, I think, was up for the part of Bonnie, but then when Warren Beatty decided he was going to play Clyde, that obviously couldn't happen because they were brother and sister. So I think he really wanted Natalie Wood, but she was not in the right state of mind to make movies, I think, at that time. And so Faye Dunaway got it, apparently. Well, not apparently, she did. And then, and Arthur Penn came on board again. And so it's kind of when it was a real roundabout way of making the film. And then Gene Hackman came on board and played Warren Beatty's brother.
Now, Gene Hackman looks old in this film. And
I know, but he's never looked really that young, ever.
He was 37, but he hadn't really done much up until then, had he?
No, not so much. And then, I mean, this still, like, I don't know whether it was a breakout role, but obviously people took note. But then, of course, The French Connection came a couple of years later, and that was, won the Oscar for that. And it was.
And just to confirm, as of the recording of this podcast, he is still alive. He gets. Yes. It's very unfair. The rumors spread that he's died, I think 5 times or something in the last 10 years.
There was a photograph that was released recently of him. He's 90 something. I mean, he looks very, very old, but still going apparently.
I love Gene Hackman.
I mean, he's amazing. He's one of the greatest character actors that has ever lived.
And Warren Beatty. So I thought Warren Beatty was a bit of a kind of pretty boy, not really. Before watching this, wasn't really much of an actor, but he's so good in this.
Oh, he's excellent, and I think he's good in a lot of things. And he's a good director. I mean, he obviously directs a lot of films, or has directed a lot of films. And he was really, I think he and Faye Dunaway are really very good.
For me, she steals the film.
Yeah, she's brilliant. She's absolutely brilliant. She's perfect casting.
Yes, it's only her 3rd film, I think.
Yeah, she was, and then she went
beautiful in it.
Yeah, she's absolutely stunning, and she went on to a few years later, Chinatown catapulted into the limelight because of this. Yeah, and it's sort of littered with great. CW is a really good character. Gene Hackman's wife Blanche is terribly annoying but extraordinarily good at it. So frustrating. And then there's a very good cameo from Gene Wilder, who pops up as they kidnap him and his wife, and then find out that he's a undertaker. So they let them go. But it's weird because it's sort of got a comedy edge to it sometimes, and then suddenly it's really horrible, shockingly horrible. Very good. Yeah, and obviously it's takes place around the same time as as Dillinger was robbing banks. We're in the Depression, obviously. It's the excuse that everyone's poor, and it's a bit more than Public Enemies has this wonderful visually the landscape of the United States is very prominent in and highlights the vast expanse of being hunted by the cops, and how difficult it must have been. Actually, there's a sort of weird companion piece which is currently, I think, on Netflix with Kevin Costner and Woody Harrelson, called The Highwaymen, who play the guys who are on the hunt for Bonnie and Clyde. It's not great, but it's fun watching Woody Harrelson and Kevin Costner play partners.
Well, Woody Harrelson's just so watchable.
Yeah. And Costner's watchable, I think, as well, in his, relatively limited scope.
Well, we're big fans of Costner.
But we are massive fans. But he's, he's very watchable, and it's fun. It's just not the greatest film in the world, but it's interesting. It isn't. Bonnie and Clyde really don't appear. It's just them. So it's quite interesting in how they do it. This, though, we're very much inside the heads of Bonnie and Clyde. And it's really well done, the way they sort of become, you suddenly become these fugitives. There's an amazingly shocking moment where it's, I think, the first time that Warren Beatty shoots someone in the head on the car. And it's suddenly like, oh, whoa.
Right in the face.
Yeah, and this must have been astonishing for the late 60s. The audiences must have been, what the hell have I just watched? But then again, there's the shootout where Gene Hackman is shooting with two guns, and I can't help but laugh. I don't know why. It's so funny. So it's a great, for anyone who hasn't seen the film, who's listening, I really recommend it being the next film you watch.
Gene Hackman is so different because he plays the brother of Warren Beatty, of Clyde Parker, and they're so different. They don't look in any way. Clyde Barrow. Yeah. But Clyde Barrow is this sort of quite. He's Gene Hackman is all bouncy and
Buck.
Yeah.
Buck Barrow. Yeah, he is. He's sort of like slightly nuts.
Yeah.
But does it so well. And then the tension between his wife Blanche and especially Bonnie, they don't get on at all. Is so well, the dynamic is so well done between them. Somehow you sympathize with these two. Not sympathize, but you.
Oh, definitely. I mean, they do that thing that Dillinger is portrayed as doing in Public Enemies, in that there's an average Joe in the bank there's some cash on the counter, and Clyde says to him, "Is that your money?" And he said, "Yes, it is." He said, "Oh, well, you keep that. We don't want that."
Yeah.
And so, that's very much.
But at the same time, when they come across the Texas Ranger, and they sort of take the iconic, actually, photograph of Bonnie, you're like, actually, but why are you to stop it?
Yeah.
Why are you doing that?
Which is a fatal mistake because.
Yes. Because that leads to their downfall.
Yeah. Indeed. There is that fascination. It's also the double act, male-female double act as well. You mentioned Natural Born Killers in the last film, Public Enemies.
And there's sort of parallels. I mean, because this is, they were, like we were saying with Public Enemies and Dillinger, they very much took on an iconic, like a celebrity persona. This is the film where, a bunch of people crowd around their car to try and take photographs and get autographs, which is, mad. But it's sort of understandable in a very twisted way. And, I guess, the Depression, it was very, very, it was a terrible time. I'm assuming that there are sort of the average Joes that would hear about Bonnie and Clyde and think, kind of, I slightly admire and envy them for having the balls to do this. Because I'm poor, I'd like to, well, maybe we should just rob a bank, and then we'll get a lot of money, and maybe we'll be in the papers.
And it shows how easy it was in those days to rob a bank, and also, the communications were very different.
Absolutely. But there's so many great moments in the film because it is romantic. It is romantic. The scenes with interestingly, the original script made Clyde bisexual, and they have Bonnie, and I think CW. There was a sort of a physical relationship between all three, but Arthur Penn said, that dissipates the relationship between Bonnie and Clyde and takes the emphasis away from their passionate and romantic love for each other. So they kind of got rid of that, which is understandable. But there's an amazing rapport between the two, which is probably real. I think that must have been accurate.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they wouldn't have remained a team till their deaths.
She was quite a bit younger than he was. She was like early 20s, whereas he was 30. But, it could only end badly, which you kind of know through the film. You're going, this is something's going to... And what a way to end, because that's accurate.
And the ending is iconic, yes.
And is iconic. And, it's not showy. There's no kind of sort of Hollywood intervention unlike, for example, the end of, and your favorite scene at the end of Public Enemies. It's just the facts. Boom, that's what happened. And whoa, that happened pretty suddenly. Even though the lead up, you're like, oh no, oh my God, this is it. And then it happens and you're sort of left slightly reeling. So for those who haven't seen the film, but know The Godfather and the way James Caan, Sonny, is dispatched, there's quite a bit of parallel. It's the first time, apparently, I believe that multiple squibs were used on actors, and I think when you're watching, you're like, well, what did you expect, Bonnie and Clyde? This, you weren't just going to get away with all of this.
Tarantino is a big fan of Bonnie and Clyde, isn't he?
Oh, is he?
Yes.
I didn't know. I'm not surprised, since he wrote Natural Born Killers, funnily enough, the original script, and very much enhanced the celebrity media sensation that these serial killers are. So it actually is very that's understandable, and it's true. The obsession with the media.
Okay, awards and nominations. So it was hugely well received.
Indeed, it was. And Estelle Parsons, who played Blanche, did win Best Supporting Actress.
Blanche is the wife of
Buck Barrow's wife, yes. So Gene Hackman's wife.
She's excellent. But I mean, Faye Dunaway is nominated as Best Actress, Beatty Best Actor.
Oh yeah, it really hit.
But they didn't win it. It didn't win. The only Oscar it won was for Best Supporting Actress, I think.
Yeah.
And Best Cinematography.
Yes. Well, yes, of course. And it's beautiful to look at.
So the competition for Best Picture in 1968 was In the Heat of the Night,
which is a very good film.
Which won? Dr. Dolittle,
which I wouldn't.
The Graduate.
Yeah, very good film.
Really,
obviously, really good film.
And Guess Who's Coming to Dinner?
I would say that I would place Bonnie and Clyde above The Graduate for my personal preference.
Well, for Best Actress, Katharine Hepburn won her sort of 30th Oscar. How many did she win? Just crazy amount.
Yeah, not 30, but yes, she did.
She won 4.
But let's be honest. No one was going to give, I don't think, Bonnie, Faye Dunaway, Best Actress.
Well, I would have.
I know you would have, but the Academy wouldn't have that. She was, I want to say, too young and in a film that was too violent. But again, Estelle Parsons won. So, but for the fact of the matter is that for a film that was in 1967 of this type, the fact that they did nominate so much was very good and bold. I would say that it was on a par with The Exorcist being nominated for so many Oscars.
So it was the one time the Oscar people got it right.
Yeah, we're like, okay, well, we don't usually nominate like horror, like exceedingly nasty horror films, but that have a very potent message, but they got it right, I think. And this was a really good, and rightly so. Should have been nominated for all of that. Weirdly, though, I mean, Gene Hackman was nominated for Best Supporting Actor, but so was CW. So they went all out with this.
Okay,
great.
so yeah, okay. Well, he won his only Oscar, I think, for Unforgiven. That's not true. He got Best Actor for
French Connection.
Yeah, he got Best Actor for French Connection, and then
supporting for Unforgiven. Yeah. Well, Popeye Doyle, French Connection, is one of the most iconic lead characters in cinema history.
I've only seen it once. I think I need to watch it again.
That's William Friedkin, who's a great director. Yeah, great director. So I would say performance. Should we go to
Best Scene? I think there's only one.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's an iconic scene.
The end.
Absolutely.
It's just
it's the scene you'll remember the most.
I can still picture Beatty and Dunaway looking at each other.
Yeah.
As the bullets are flying.
And apparently their position, I mean, the film was very accurate in recreating that exact moment.
Yeah, I was reading that there is some of the police argued that perhaps it wasn't, but they would say that, wouldn't they?
Of course.
Given that this is another one of those extrajudicial killings that seem to be quite frequent during the 1930s.
I mean, this is within months of Dillinger's execution.
Yeah, and when we say execution, another extrajudicial killing, the film doesn't really cover a lot of. I mean, they were put in jail a few times.
Yeah, that's true.
And there were I think there are a few murders that are not shown, including policemen in shootings in Texas and Oklahoma. So so that side of things isn't really covered. You would argue then it does romanticize, despite the killings it does show. That particularly the first one, and right in the face of the bank teller who rather foolishly climbs up on the car to try and stop an armed man. It does romanticize them. There's no doubt about it.
On the Blu-ray cover, I mean, it says they're young, they're in love, and they kill people.
Yeah.
Okay. It's charming.
Yeah. I wonder what the cover would be like nowadays.
They're romantic. Well, this is the Blu-ray that I've got is it's quite a modern one, I think. But I'm assuming that is a log line from maybe an early poster. I don't know.
Another great scene is the poetry, the bit where she reads the poetry out. She's written the poem and then Clyde reads it out. That's quite a famous scene.
Yeah.
When he says, "There, that's it. You've got it. You've captured us."
Yeah.
I mean, that poem was published after their death.
Yes, it was. I remember reading it actually recently when I watched it before we decided to do this. I watched it maybe about a year ago, and then I read that. It's really, really interesting. Actually, their entire story is actually quite interesting. I find it always fascinating how these start. Like Dillinger and all these people who get into trouble when they're quite young, but they were quite stylish. Bonnie and Clyde. I mean, you just say Bonnie and Clyde, and it is quite romantic. And
I'll put a link in to the show notes for the poem or some of the poetry of. But it might be familiar to some because the opening verse is, "You've read the story of Jesse James, of how he lived and died. If you're still in need of something to read, here's the story of Bonnie and Clyde." Like, it's a really catchy opening.
Yeah, interesting how she that like we were saying before has a Western feel. Yes, like Jesse James. It's kind of you see the parallels. Absolutely. I mean, a film that I would definitely plug to have on a podcast is The Assassination of Jesse James by the Coward Robert Ford with Brad Pitt.
We should do that.
That's one of the best Westerns, in my opinion, in the last 30 years, for sure.
I'm a big fan of the director, actually.
Yeah, Australian.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So best scene. So we're going to go with not the poetry reading, which sounds thrilling, but it is actually good. We're going to go with the death scene.
They do die, just so everyone knows. It's
a
bit of a giveaway, but it's pretty obvious.
So that wins the Zapruder Award for best scene. The Argo Award for most inaccurate scene.
inaccuracies, it's a difficult one to judge.
Okay, so we should probably pick the portrayal of he's Frank Hamer. We've mentioned him already. He's the Texas Ranger who chases Bonnie and Clyde and ultimately is the one who kills them. The family were upset because it made it look as though it was some kind of revenge, and he was not captured and humiliated. And so the family sued the filmmakers. And they
really?
Yeah, and they obtained they got an out of court settlement a few years after the film was made. So that early scene is quite crucial. You said it shows their kind of cruelty when they're making fun of.
Yeah, but it's the one that, I mean, so that they took a photograph with him,
but not of this individual, Frank Hamer.
Right.
He had retired. In reality, he had retired. He wasn't working anymore, and he was coaxed out of retirement. He had never met them, and so whilst yes, he did ambush and kill them, he hadn't met them before, and so therefore that obviously explains why they were able to get an out of court settlement. So if we're going to go for an accurate scene, we're going to have to go with that particular scene. So that wins the Argo Award.
It's a very good scene.
Yeah, it is a good scene. Yeah. Well, we said this before. There are many scenes that win the Argo Award.
Yeah.
And they're very good. Some of them. Have we had one that's won the Zapruder Award and the Argo Award? I'll have to go back and check the
Unlikely
records.
and best scene. I want to say yes, but I can't remember which one.
It is possible.
Yes, possible.
Right. Well, the Simon Baker Award for Best Performance.
Well, I mean, I think this is a double whammy.
Yeah.
Because Marion Cotillard won Best Performance. She was an actress. I would go with Faye Dunaway for this.
Me too, 100%. She's so good.
She's so good.
Aspects of History is regaining its equality awards.
Yeah. Good.
I think these are the first time we've even mentioned. We pick a lot of male films. We have to be honest. We are two males.
Yes, but
most of the films we pick are men in a room talking.
Yeah, but is that history's fault or our fault?
That is partly history's fault. Nothing to do with us.
Good, wonderful. One film that would definitely solve the problem, which is a film called Female Agents, which is a historical film set in 1944, French film with Sophie Marceau. And it's just, as the title suggests, all women, based on a true story.
Well, if it's got Sophie Marceau in, then you're persuading me.
SOE section for French ops parachute 4 women into France, plus a woman there to free an English geologist and kill SS Colonel Heinrich.
Excellent. Well, I don't want to pick a film just because it's got particular
but
identity.
I'm just saying it's there.
This looks really good. Yeah, and it's a French film. We haven't done a French film yet.
No, it's true. Very true. So that may be one for the future.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, getting back on track. So Faye Dunaway wins. Warren Beatty's really good. Gene Hackman's really good, but it's got to be.
Well, then there's supporting actor.
And I'm afraid I'm going to have to agree with the Oscars people.
I do agree. She's so good that she does exactly. I mean, she's
much
so
as I love Gene Hackman, you're kind of jaw dropping at how irritatingly annoying she is. At one point, you think she's going to get bumped off. She's so annoying.
Yes,
but that doesn't happen, thankfully. And so undoubtedly, it's
Estelle Parsons.
Estelle Parsons wins to go with her Oscar. She has the Gary Oldman Award for Best Supporting Performance.
Wonderful.
Yeah, we got 2 female winners.
Legacy
rating. The highest legacy rating we've had so far is JFK with 5 out of 5. I'd say this is up there, 5 out of 5.
Absolutely.
Without this film, unlikely many people would know about Bonnie and Clyde.
No, and it started something. It was part of a new movement in Hollywood. You probably wouldn't have certain other films that came on the indie scene, like Easy Rider, the new films from young.
So that's twofold, really. A, historically speaking, and both filmmaking wise as well. Then.
Yes, very true. That's a really good point. Not a lot of films do that.
No, I mean, that's why it earns its 5 out of 5 legacy rating. Impressive stuff.
And it launched 3 careers. I mean, Warren Beatty then went on, he became not only an actor, but a producer. He started directing. Gene Hackman became humongous in the 70s, a couple of years later. Faye Dunaway became a huge leading actress.
She was in the Thomas Crown Affair the next year with Steve McQueen.
Yes, of course.
So I think she's incredible. I've always loved her. She has been awarded a Best Actress award, I think.
Did she get Network?
Yes.
Network. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant film.
But did she suffer from this terrible thing that Hollywood does, is that once she hit a certain age,
Probably. I know what you're going to ask.
the parts sort of fall away?
Yeah, I mean, it's I've to this day, it's just crazy how
I really
I
don't
know,
understand it.
I know, and I know actresses who, at a certain point, they go, they're going to have children, and then their own agents kind of make the point. Oh, well, then that's it, isn't it? And it's like, well, it's such an outdated, archaic view. Terribly frustrating.
Yes, it's the people in control. The studio, or the streamers, as it is now.
Yeah.
And what, the agents are involved in this as well. I mean,
they're in the bit, I don't know. I mean, it's a bit generalized to say that, but I mean, I know firsthand from some people that I know that the outlook is there. It's like inevitable.
And would you say this is the case even in 2024?
Probably.
I would say the only actress who's really still, I don't know. I mean, Frances McDormand is fantastic and has had consistent work. I suspect that's because she's really done indie films, generally speaking, hasn't she?
Yeah, and then because if you think about the people, all the actresses who were big in the 90s or the 80s and 90s, it's like, well, a lot of them have sort of slipped away. They aren't in the leading roles that they once were. Yeah. Now, of course, there is an age in the sense that they're not going to, an actress now is not going to play a 30-year-old. They played a 30-year-old in the 90s. But is it that there aren't enough parts?
Yeah, but a 50-year-old can't play a 30-year-old, but
no,
a 40-year-old should be able to play a 30-year-old. We're going to be doing a film this year because it's the 20th anniversary of its release, Alexander, where Colin Farrell plays Alexander the Great. He's I think he was 9 months younger than the woman who played his mother, Angelina Jolie.
Laurence Olivier's Hamlet, which he directed, but obviously played Hamlet, and his mother, Gertrude, who was played by Eileen Hurley. She was born in 1918. She was 10 years younger than he was, and she played his mother.
But this is still happening. Last year, Napoleon, a film that's appeared on this film club, and I think it's probably the weakest film we've had on our film club, I'd say. And Vanessa Kirby, lovely and brilliant as she was, is 14 years younger than Joaquin Phoenix, but she was playing a woman, Josephine, who was 7 years older than Napoleon.
Yeah. But it does happen, and I don't know. It's crazy. So, and you see this pattern with actresses in Hollywood. I think it's very unfair and it's a bit silly.
Yeah, it is. Well, that's a little rant to end, but we'll move on. Tim,
Great.
This has been fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Listeners, next month we have Schindler's List. Roger Moorhouse returns, joins Tim and I to discuss Schindler's List. This is going to be the anniversary of the clear out of the Krakow ghetto by the Nazis. And with the rise of anti-Semitism there's been reported in the news, I think it's timely that we talk about this. And so I do hope you can join me then. Tim, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks very much for listening. Plenty more great history to come. Gordon talking World War I commanders on Saturday. But until then, thank you and good night.